All right, so welcome. I guess I'll welcome myself back. You guys have been here waiting patiently. Thank you for the interruption on technology. Today, the 12th, November 12th, and we're moving through the month and the semester quickly. It is the last day of the of week number four of the 8 week session. So we're cranking through it. So as I stall here and figure out what I have closed, I had to close everything down and then reboot the computer. Had updates last night. Whenever there's updates on a computer, um, nowadays I'm really suspicious. That's where my problem started initially on the last PC I had, the desktop I had. The updates were coming in and just messing stuff up, and I was getting crashing notifications. And I asked the IT guy about it. And he says, no, he goes, I've heard some things might be with Microsoft and their updates. Then I asked my brother who's in IT, and he goes, I hadn't heard anything either. And then I did a little online investigation, and there was quite a few comments about Microsoft. Some of the updates they were sending down were causing systems to crash. So whenever I have updates, I'm like leery the next day of what's going to happen. So, all right. So hopefully everybody is doing well and healthy and ready for the weekend ahead. So let me see. Let me get my mind back together here after did this rebooting here. A couple things on the notes. Some things I sent out yesterday, and let me get to this. It'll be under announcements, of course, and I'll stop sharing that. And I don't know if any of you picked it up. I sent it out yesterday evening, and plus I made a couple of videos for your entertainment pleasure. So just a reminder about the Thanksgiving holiday. I'm sure you guys probably don't want to take time off. You want to keep working because you love this class so much. But we do have a holiday break coming up. So next week will be Packet 5, and you'll have extended time. Larry says, yep. You want to keep going, right, Larry? Um, you'll have an extended time to work on Packet 5, just to give you a heads up on that. So if you this hasn't released to you yet. Packet 5 has not released to you yet, but you'll have until the following Monday, the 2 Mondays after a Monday after the usual due date. And I guess I could pull up the calendar and tell you. I think it's the 30th. Yeah, it's the 30th. So week 5 will start on the 16th next Monday, and typically we would have the packet due on the 23rd, but because of the holiday, I'm going to give you guys an extra week on that too. And hopefully you guys can get everything done next week and maybe just work on your final project or something like that, but have some days off. 23rd through 29th is Thanksgiving holiday. There's the staff hours. The staff are not as lucky as students, and they're the operating hours on the 25th. So it's just 8 to 5. Everything shuts down on the 25th after that. So another thing on my notes, which kind of ties into this, don't forget about registration. Let me see a show of hands. How many have registered for spring? Anybody? James did. All right. James Nate did. Anybody else register for spring? Anybody else? Wow. Well, if you guys are continuing on in the program, which I hope you are, or getting close to ending, I hope you register soon. Spring registration is open and classes are available. So hopefully you'll get the class you want. Typically, as you get more advanced class in CAD, they do not fill up as quickly, but we have had a higher enrollment in the entry level. Let's see, if I go back to summer, I don't know if I go back to summer. I think summer filled up on 1305, and then spring. In fact, if I go back to spring of last year, 1305 and 1409 were full classes starting out. I think, and then 1305 in the first 8 weeks of this semester was full as well. So we should have a lot of people going through there. Let's see. Um, Ryan says he lost his degree plan. Was that the degree audit that Jean Yanez had sent out, Ryan? Is that what you're referring to? Okay, so that listed what classes you need to take. So here is, Jean, if you have that same problem and want to know what to take next, or just want some advice on something in as far as the classes, Jean.Yanez at eccd.edu. I'm putting in the chat box right now. Use that for contact. She's great at what she does. Contact her by that email address, and then you'll be able to, Brian, you can get another degree audit from her and figure out what you're going to take next. Larry says, waiting to see about campus, on campus. No, still virtual. Everything's still virtual in spring. And in fact, in summer, we just had to submit a tentative summer schedule for 2021, which is still virtual. And that brings me to another thought in a second. James Meek says almost everything is off campus right now. Landscaping is on campus. You can get a degree audit yourself. Yeah, you can pull a degree audit if you want. Surveying. Yeah, surveying is on campus. Machining, obviously you guys are going the degree path, but machining is online 2 days a week and on campus 2 days a week. And we're still nailed down. I don't know if you guys watch the numbers on the COVID-19 cases, but we're like 7.9, almost 8% increase. We were down to like 2% last month, or 2.5% increase. Yeah, James says, yeah, they're going up, and they are. A lot of us contributed. They're saying, from what my wife tells me about the news. I don't watch the news. I'll try to watch as little as possible. It's too slanted and too depressing and all that. But a lot of it, they say, was from Halloween parties and get-togethers and such. James says Fort Worth was worse than what Dallas was last time. Yeah, and that kind of flip-flopped, about 3 weeks ago, I think, that Fort Worth, or Tarrant County anyway, was accelerating past Dallas, where Dallas before was the lead in cases. So, yeah, for sure, we definitely spring will be all online, except for those classes that were mentioned. And then summer, it looks like that as well. I'm trying to put together let me put this out there just out of curiosity, and I don't know if this is going to work. I'm trying to put together a woodworking 101 class. Is there anybody that would be interested in something like that? It won't be virtual. It will be on campus. And I don't know if anybody would be interested in something like that. Brian says he would, by, I think, a raise of hands, or unless he wants to talk, I'm not sure. You could take that, just add to your resume. Yeah, that might be something to have on there. I don't know about 101, but at least a second level, right? James Meek says. So with that said, I'm trying to put but the class is like limited to like 5 people, just because of COVID and such. So anyway, I just sent an email out yesterday on that. I haven't heard back. All right, so back to the announcement. So please register for class if you guys haven't. I don't know if there's a reason you're not. I'm kind of surprised we didn't see more hands go up on that. So back to the announcements as well, and then I'll get to the email that I just sent out a few minutes ago. Here's some more information on announcements for the sheet sets and talking about tables, which I'll talk briefly about today. The tables that will be going on the detail sheet number 5. I'm sorry, try that again, and sheet number 6 for tables. I'll talk about sheet number 5 today, about the detail sheet and setting that up to give you a little more information on that. So those are the 2 announcements I sent out last night. And then email that I just sent out, and James Meek just had commented on that. So there's a link for Adobe if you have not received another email invite for Adobe, and it should be Adobe Pro, from my understanding. It will facilitate a lot. At least basically Adobe will help a lot in the PDFing. And oh yes, we are, James. We're going to be reviewing for midterm day as well. So quite a bit to go through. I've got a video to show you on the detail sheet, and we have about 5 or 6 PowerPoints. We'll show it on the PowerPoints, review the midterm, and let's see, announcements, talk about Thanksgiving, the final project we just touched on for Packet 5, and we talked about Packet 5. If you do subscribe to the YouTube channel that I have out there, as James McGinn says, he subscribes and he gets notifications when it's posted. So the post I have on Blackboard here in, which is under lessons, I put these same links in here as well. It'll be Packet 5. And this is not available until Sunday, about 5 a.m. I release it about 5 a.m. on Sunday. So there's information that will release then, but also it's available now on YouTube if you're subscribing to the YouTube channel that I've set up. All right, so that's where we'll go from there. I have a note about homework list. I'm not sure what that's about, but maybe I'll figure it out between now and then. All right, so Adobe went out. Now, James Meek, Iman, let me back up. Iman was asking about 1 student per instructor. You were talking about the woodworking, I think, Iman, is what you were commenting on. That is, no, it will be 1 instructor for 5 students. 1 instructor for 5 students. So our shop is not huge. Our woodworking shop is not huge. Definitely not as big as the machining shop. So there are some challenges there with room size, safety being huge in a wood shop. So we have some issues on that. But that's the room that we were that I was given to design the woodworking in, and it is what it is. So so it'll be 1, and the tentative I'm trying to put together, it will be under CE. That'll be 1 instructor for 5 students. All right, let's take a look at, on the Adobe. So you should have received another email, a prior email, that as per our head IT person for software. She said that something should have gone out for Adobe. Now, with that said, and I had the email pulled up, which I don't right now. Let me see if I can get to that somewhat quickly. James McGinn had found an email, and James, I already put it away. Here we go. Let's see if we can pull it up this way. And let's see, attendance. So James found this for Adobe, and I emailed him back and asked if he found it. James, are you in class now? Yeah, I don't see him listed in class right now, so I guess he didn't make class. But he found this. I'm not sure exactly where on the TCC website, but this was for snaps or snap. Let me see. Let me go back one more. Spark. I'm sorry, Adobe Spark. So that as well might be an access to Adobe, but the Adobe, basic Adobe, and I think the Adobe Pro, that email should have gone out. And then I sent out an email just before class as well, that if you did not receive that first email on Adobe, you should go ahead to the link that I sent out and set up an account, and that will give you access as well. So I think we have that portion solved, or at least information for you to handle. All right, what else was there? There was announcements on that, and then we have the video, and you'll have, let me just stop sharing so you don't have to watch me cycle through all this stuff to get video. And let's see if I can get to it this way. And this will be on how to set up your detail sheet. All right, so let me share that and we'll watch this video. And it's just, what, 5 minutes, I think? Oh, 8 minutes. Got a little long-winded. That's what happened on the presentation this morning, so they probably loved me there at the high school. All right. All right, we're going to talk about the detail sheet. This is for both projects, for the Rotunda Garden and for your front yard project. So we'll apply to both. They're both on D sheets, and they'll be both sheet 5 of 6. So I'm going to show you how to set that up in CAD, and let's get going on that. All right, so the first thing we're looking at D sheet, this is what it's going to end up looking like. All right, I'll show you how to get to this point. And this is the basic setup. So we have 4 rows across and 4 rows down for the 16 required details. Within that, we need to figure out how to set that up first. And so I'm going to show you on this. Basically what you're going to do first, just go into the line command and draw a line across here. And what I'm going to do, I'll go ahead and turn ortho on and zoom in on this a little bit. So I'm just going to hover over here at this point and then snap into this point here, which is not, now it's not giving me the snap. So I'm going to have to do, turn snaps off, because it just worked a few minutes ago. So I'm just going to snap it into this point here. And then we're going to draw another line straight on down. Let's see if this snap will work. F3 back on. Now the perpendicular snap is working. So we have a line horizontal and vertical. And so the first thing we're going to do is figure out how big these boxes have to be. So what I did is I took a total measurement across, and then I figured out that each box vertically, we'll go horizontal first, will be 7.5. So I took the total number of inches divided by the 4 and came up with 7.5. So we'll come back to here, and I'll do an offset and 7.5. And go to my vertical line, 1, 2, and 3. And that will give me my offset for my vertical. And then the horizontal, I figured out the 5.5. So O enter, and back to 5.5. And now come down to the line that I drew across the top. 1, 2, 3. So now we have our 16 squares. And you want to keep the control lines in here, and I'll show you why in a second. The top control horizontal you can delete, and the this one here I would keep in because it's going to encompass this side here. Use the extend command and extend those three lines there, and we have our boxes completed. The next step is to make viewports for each one of these. So this top left one, the bottom left, will require a polygonal viewport. The other ones are just regular rectangular viewports. So I'll go ahead and go to polygonal. Again, remember where you start because you will not click on the starting point. Okay, enter for the arc, cover, and CL to close it out. And now we have our first viewport. And again, the other ones, besides the bottom left, will just be a rectangular viewport. All right. So now we have those started, so I would advise just go ahead and put all the viewports in. And what I did is I went ahead and made a small object here, and as an example of the detail, and I think it was 1/32 for sure. I forgot what I scaled that at. It's on the other sheet. I'm messing with this. Almost there. 3/4, I believe it was. And then you can position it as always. So those are the steps to get the viewports in. Get the boxes first, the control lines, and then the viewports. And then after you make the details, you zoom in, of course. And now the other thing you're going to do is fill out the title block. Let me go to my other sheet here. So I have the title block filled out the way I want it. Push my name in here, and if you want to put a company name, as long as you're identified somewhere in here, that's fine with me. This one particular sheet is for the Rotunda Garden Project, and this is a detail sheet. So you always want to have what sheet is referenced in here, somewhere on here in this title block. Then we have as the project name down here is Rotunda Garden. I'll put today's date in here. And here for scale is as noted, because we're going to put in some text here for each detail, each detail, and then we're going to scale each detail. So that will come as the entire sheet as noted, and we have the reference to the scale on that. And then this will end up being sheet 5 of 6, and that's for both projects. All right, so let's take a look at the text here as the last thing. This text is that 1% that I say that you can do in paper space. Everything else should be done in model space. So here is I just want to use the text command on that. I laid the text up here and typed in the information and what the detail was and the scale it's going to be at. And I just placed it down here, nicely positioned. Now while I have this selected, I can go ahead and after I get my viewports all made, I can go ahead and Control C. And let's go over here with the other, just paste it here. And I'm just showing you this one as an example. Once you have one piece of text selected and then copy it, Control V, or spacebar, repeat the command. Now I can place it in each viewport and align it with the other text, so it's nice and neatly across. If you want to run another control line across here, after you get the viewports in, and then you can come back and edit the text. So if this was, next one, let's say a shrub. Planting detail. And then you can just go edit all the text boxes through there. Instead of going through the text command and rewriting, it's a lot easier to make one and copy it. So that is how to set up your detail sheet for both projects. Sheet number 5 has that one doesn't have the right information. That's why I went to this one, because I set this one up with the correct information in the title block to give you a good example. Sheet number 5 of 6, that's your detail sheet, so you'll have 16 details as per the directions that I have posted in packet 5. I've sent out previous and gave you more information in packet 5 assignments under lessons, and I will be sending out an announcement as well for each sheet that will apply to both projects. All right, hopefully that was helpful. As always, any questions, let me know. All right, before I move on, were there any questions on that? All right, no questions? Okay. Well, that was on detail sheets, how to get those set up. Yeah, James is saying, James Meek says, just surprised that AutoCAD doesn't throw a fit about the text in there. Yeah, very delicately do that. When you click it in there, just very gently put the text in, and you should be okay. Usually where AutoCAD is going to mess up two things. One, if you try to place hatching in the position of that text, that's just going to blow AutoCAD up. And sometimes when you open the viewport and go in and try to apply hatching into model space through the paper space, that can confuse the hatching and sometimes AutoCAD itself. So Iman says, James, you may have been watching the recording video later. Yeah, absolutely. It will be. It's posted on YouTube right now, and it will be available through the link as of 5 a.m. on Sunday. Yeah, you did that with hatching. James Meek says he did that with in AutoCAD. Yeah. Yeah, it gets angry, doesn't it? It'll slap your hand, and you're fortunate. And I don't know if I mentioned in this class. This is a foundational basic for AutoCAD. I teach in my entry level. If you even, and this goes back to when I was working in the industry, if I even would think about the word hatching, if it's some reason it would just come in my mind, even if I wasn't going to do hatching, I was in model space and wasn't going to, all of a sudden, I don't know why the word hatching came in mind, I would hit Control S. If I was doing hatching, before I selected the first hatch, I would hit Control S, quick save. After I hatched my first geometric figure, hit Escape and Control S. You probably already all know this, but just a reminder, if you in sequence hatch several geometric figures, they are tied together as one block. If you have to modify one of those sequence geometric figures with hatching, and you go in to modify it, they all disappear or they all change based on the modification. So they're all tied together. So that's why I always hatch one thing, escape, Control S. It's a pain, but believe me, it saves you in the long run. And then James Meek said he had a crash once and delete the hatching another time. Yeah, don't do it. Just go back to model space. It's so much easier. I know you have to click another button, but it saves you a lot. And James McGinn is back in. Good, James. James Meek says that is your friend and enemy sometimes. Yeah, absolutely. So, and a lot has to depend on your PC as well. So. On the processor and a couple other things, video card as well. All right, let me see if there was anything else. We're kind of ahead of schedule a little bit, but I'm going ahead and get to the PowerPoint, back to the PowerPoint now. And as always, go ahead and post any questions that you might have. We talked about irrigation this week quite a bit. And make sure you're well versed in the terminology on that. And let's see, I am looking for my, hopefully the PowerPoint didn't go, here we go, I think that's it. That's not it. Not selections. Oh, there it is. All right. All right, so we talked about irrigation this last week, and I'm just going to do a little piece. Like I said, it's nine slides, but they'll go really quick, believe me. One is not even, doesn't even apply to this. It's just to make sure you're awake as you're eating your delicious lunch probably there. So with that said, we're going to talk about the cover sheet. Now, the cover sheet is the statement. People say, well, what's on the cover sheet? So I would say, well, you have to have your index and then the wow factor in a 2-point perspective. So I guess the wow factor can be different things to different people, but you want to impress your client or you impress yourself if you're the client, that they want to look at that cover sheet and say, man, I want to look into this project and see what is involved in that. So it has to draw interest. And in a 2D environment that we're working in, yeah, it's a little more difficult, but that's the challenge. I want you guys to be challenged a little bit. And the presentation I did today for this high school, I showed them some great drawings that were done in AutoCAD for cover sheets, in fact, for some other classes. And they were done in 2D. They look like a 3D perspective until you compared it to like Revit or Civil 3D. Then you could really tell. And one of the reasons is because Revit has the focus, the concentration on 3D and texturing and refining it every year. Then when they come out with a new version, they refine it a little more. If you look at the initial Revit, you can tell it's like, yeah, it kind of looks like grass, I guess, you know. But as it's developed, man, it looks like grass. It looks textured. You can almost smell the freshly cut grass when you're looking at a building. So there is a lot of advancement in the 3D, and I'm challenging you guys now to work this up in a 2D environment. All right, James says, yeah, Baby Revit. Yeah, and I forgot what year. He says Baby Revit was owned by Autodesk. It was invented by another company, actually. This goes back maybe before they bought that. But Revit was, I don't even know if it was called Revit then, but it was a standalone that was invented, and then Autodesk swallowed it up and just ran with it with their software engineers. Yeah, Autodesk likes to buy the best mixed ideas. Yeah, absolutely. If they see it's going to be a moneymaker, like James, I think you commented a few weeks ago about that. Wherever there's money to be made, Autodesk will invest in that. So Revit is very advanced, but you guys are going to be working in 2D, obviously. Now, I think there was a question by somebody, and I can't remember who it was. Can I do a hand sketch of a 2D model? And this semester I said yes. Usually I don't. I force it into AutoCAD. So you do have that option. You have to still color it up. You still have to have the wow factor. If you want to look at some great examples, just Google landscape cover pages, 2-point landscape cover pages, and some of them are done in pen and pencil. So you're welcome to do that, but it still has to have the punch on it. So here's a couple of examples, obviously done in higher end platform on this, but looking at number one, the view, how it's taken, and I think it may have been Brittany, I'm not sure, who asked about, or maybe it was Iman, asked about the elevated view on a 2-point. Absolutely. If you want to do the elevated view, like a bird's eye view, looking into the property, and this is applying to both the front yard project, your front yard project, and the Rotunda garden design. Here's another one here, a little more on the simplistic side, really enhancing with the color, and this may have been a drop-in modification. That sky looks so perfect up there. I've taken photos like that. That's why I think it might be a drop-in or insert there. But the details here, again, is probably a Revit. I've had students that can get details on texturing on buildings like on houses like this. So it's not impossible. Let me back up one. It doesn't have it on this one. I don't think it's on that one. So when you really start getting into it, it's the shadowing that will take effect and on this. So if you know, I didn't notice this before, but if you notice, see this hill, this mountain, this hill, I guess it's not a mountain. Look how it carries through the windows. So they're indicating that the windows are see-through to the backyard. I don't know if that's just something convenient instead of trying to get some other texture in there. They got the sky through there and everything. So kind of interesting on that. But the foreground, is a lot larger. So your eyes, I'm not sure where your eyes went immediately on this because we have some bright colors in here, and the main drawing is a little more subdued on the colors. I think my eyes initially, boy, I don't know where my eyes went initially when the first time I saw this. They may have gone to the sky first. That might have drawn me in to the project, and that's what you want to do. You want to have a focal point on your 2-point that draws your eye into the point, to a selected point, and then everything on the peripheral, foreground and background is secondary on that. But you want to draw and it can be as simple as not only colors, but as simple as walkways leading back into the house or into the structure. And in the case of the rotunda, it may just be some walkways that pull your eye back into a gazebo or a water feature, whatever you have going there. So it can be just line work that pulls your eye in as well as color. So keep that in mind as you're working through these. Again, a bird's eye view. This is a backyard patio, obviously, but it could be a front yard patio. I when I was just out of or in college, I guess a few years in college in California, back in the 80s. I had an apartment that had a front patio. You went through the front patio before you hit the front door. So this could be a front one as well. So I know there's some houses that have been designed with a lot more activity in the front. One of the theories is that typically everybody spends either their time inside or the backyard. And especially in California, and I see it out here as well, the garage door syndrome. People pull home from work 8 to 5. They pull home from work if they work 8 to 5. That would be nice. Pull home from work and immediately go into open the garage and go in the house. So they don't have a lot of interaction with their neighbor. And with that said, they have created they've created the front environments. They've enhanced the front environments with patios or just a wraparound porch or a front porch that has a place for them to sit, which you see a lot in the southern style homes. The deeper south will have a lot of patios and such that are on the front as well. To enhance the not only the look but the interaction, encourage interaction. So just some landscaping architectural thoughts on that. And I'm not sure why that was in there. I put it in there, I think, to wake up my students up. But I know you guys are paying full attention and wide awake while you're hovering and eating over your hamburger and fries. I can almost smell them here. All right, so here's a Revit drawing. Again, they've got a lot better with the texturing, but take a look. What I wanted to really show you in this is some of the texturing that goes into the hardscape portion, how it's designed and tiered. Even if you have a relatively flat yard, front yard, or the rotunda area, if you want to take that, you can still do tiered effects. I mean, it's costly to build these walls and to import soil to raise an area that's not naturally raised. But it's still terracing is big. It breaks up areas. It creates small, little compact meeting areas ties areas together with walkways and things like that. Different types of texturing on the walkways as well. So we have a lot of earth tones in here that are accentuated not only with the walk and the rock, but also look at the mulch area and both foreground and background. So you have the earth tones there. Look at some of the darker earth tones here, just even in the patio furniture. Look at the top here on this. I want to say trash can, but I don't think that's a trash can. It might be a little, like a little workstation or something. But look at the earth tones there on the countertop there. That's there as well. So they tie a lot of that in. Notice the red in the front to the begonias. It looks like some kind of begonias to the back as well. So there's some balance going on in there as well. So be considering when you're looking at color and textures, consider that as you're looking at that presentation sheet. Water features are huge. They accelerated a few years ago, and then with drought and everything, they've kind of tapered back a little bit, but there's still some good ways to have some water features. You don't have to have them fully in water. I mean, this is a little bit elaborate, having 2 tiers of water. There's a lot of technology that goes behind the pumping systems on these. A lot to get this water that blue. Obviously, in a Revit file, they can do that. But again, they're working with a lot of colors that are earthy type colors, the garage door, the pavers here, the tones in this retaining area here. So pay attention to those things when you're picking out the colors for your presentation sheet. So here we again we have some different areas that are put in. This is basically a 1-point perspective because everything is leading back to a 1-point. We're going to do a 2-point on ours, both on the both projects. Here you can see how these pavers get smaller as they go back because they are going back to a vanishing point of VP back in here somewhere. So pay attention to scale. Larger items to the front, smaller items or mid-range items to the middle, and all the way to the back. Those are the smaller items as well. So scaling is very important in that. Let's see, let me back up here. See what's going on. Let's see if I missed anything. Yeah, back to James Meek, and I guess he's saying I cringe thinking of trying to draw a cover page. Yeah, me too, James. My sketching abilities are bad at best, and then if I try to draw a cover page, I drew a bench the other day. I'm going to be working on a bench eventually in my wood shop, but I sketched that out. My wife goes, "Wow, that's good. I wish I could sketch that good." And it's like, "Well, thanks for that compliment." So. Iman says, can you give us some information about existing open areas in front of TCC South Library to use in our project? What you can do, you can go to Google Earth for TCC, Iman, and there are some open areas to the northwest. A lot of open areas there in front of the Energy Building, and then to the south, I guess south, almost directly south of the campus. In fact, that leads me to another conversation or comment. But yeah, those 2 areas, take a look at those on Google Earth or Google Maps. That will give you some idea on that. And if you look at the Google Earth map or Google Earth site, and it will still have the rotunda there, but you can get a good idea if you pan back far enough about open areas and perspective drawings on that. I don't have any examples of TCC South on that. James Meek says, perspective is everything. I can communicate with a drawing, but not make art. Yeah, and even elevations are artwork as well, because in elevations, you're conveying a couple things, elevation drawings. You're conveying not only the texture in some degree, but construction in another. So elevations are even a little more tricky because you have 2 elements coming into play in one sheet. So yeah, perspectives are not easy, except when you're in Revit. I don't know how many of you taken Revit, but man, that is a powerful program. You basically draw in 2D and then click a button and it's generating already in 3D model for you. And you can specify the walls and everything, the texture of the walls, interior, exterior. It's just incredible. Iman says specialty amenity items, um, specifically, I'm sorry, amenity items. Um, those are up to you. Amenities are up to you, Iman. You know, gazebos. I've given you a lot of examples with gazebos, pergolas, water features, benches. I think Heavy R or somebody even said, "What about a trash can?" I said, "Yeah, you can make a trash can an amenity, but it has to be done right. It can't just be a tin can sitting with a lid halfway off in the common grounds area." James Meek says AutoCAD 3D is more powerful than Revit in many areas, but also very difficult to use. Yeah, it's Revit is refining that 3D um, that 3D environment. And what Revit's also doing is giving you a lot more options on textures and um, wall coverings. That's both exterior and interior. So yeah, they kind of hit the brakes on AutoCAD 3D. I don't want to say as far as developing anymore. It's come a long ways. I won't argue that point. But when Revit was introduced, their focus kind of shifted into the 3D environment. So some good comments. Yeah, yeah. Okay, let's talk about architecture because James Mick says, yeah, architects like Revit over AutoCAD 3D. So they had in fact, I took this class. It was AutoCAD architecture, and they may still have it. I don't know, but it was specifically designed AutoCAD for architecture, and then of course it had the 3D option in there as well. And basically, what it was, they changed the ribbon up a little bit, and making it a little more common for architectural use and functionality and blocks and things like that, accessibility. It was, and maybe this was because I was taking um, two CAD classes at the same time, an entry level and an architectural Revit. Don't ask me. They didn't have the program set up right. It was one of those just go pick anything you want, you're off and running. That's why when I got a hold of the program, this happened 3 years ago or so, I made 1305 and 1409 mandatory before you even got into 3D. So anyway, that was a real challenge for me, was architectural Revit. Kevin says architectural auto, I'll get it right, Kevin. Auto Architect. Yeah, that was the program. Yeah, Kevin, I don't know if you've used that before or are using it, but for me, that was starting out of the gate. It was very difficult for me to use, so that was a challenge. James Meek, there is a cabinet maker for AutoCAD too. Yeah, they're coming out with a lot. Kevin says back in the 90s. All right, Kevin. Let's see. Now it had to be, I was still using it. Oh, that's when they came out with it probably, because I was using it in '06, I think it was, '05, '06. But to that point, Kevin, it disappeared after that. I haven't heard anything more about it. So it may be still used in industry, but we don't have it anymore in AT South. And I have not received a phone call from an architect. Hey, do you have any students that know architectural um, AutoCAD architect? James Meek, so glad we aren't learning this on the tracking table. I just lost my screen now. I'm sure you guys can still see it. So, yes, that was a challenge. I got that far in my CAD classes, so that was definitely interesting on the table. Heavy R says, "Is that Arnold Schwarzenegger in the cover sheet?" I don't know what cover sheet you're talking about. Oh, well, back a couple. I bet you is that one? I don't know.
No, I'm talking about the number 8, slide 8. But see the little man
Oh,
on the shirt?
Yeah.
I, was-
I
I, was,
see.
li- I was listening to everything you're saying, so I got distracted. Is that God?
Yeah, it almost does, Javier. You're right. That guy that has shoulders as wide as my garage door, I think. And so, yeah, I didn't see that. Good point on that. Nice call. I always love to laugh during class, especially on my Friday. Let's see. James Meek says my dad cut his teeth in CAD on drafting tables. Yeah, that was kind of a splintery experience, I bet. Yeah, it's that's where it all started for me too. And that started in high school on the drafting table. That's where I got interested in design work. So as we move on and get towards the end of this, slide number 9, we have again a bird's eye view. It is a 2-point perspective, but it's really up there in elevation. So this might be something a little easier to formulate. All right, just some ideas and thoughts on that. Um, Start working it up because I will require some information coming back to me in the weeks to come as far as the cover sheet. All right, it's 1:30, finished right on time with the first part of the lecture. So I think I got everything covered. I'll go over my notes again in between on the break. But the intention is we'll take a 10-minute break here, and then we'll come back and review the midterm that is coming up. I have almost completed the midterm, and we'll review that when we come back we'll make that 1:30, 1:40. We'll come back at 1:40 and continue the lecture, which will be on the midterm. All right.